Good morning, everyone. I figured I'd hop on about 3 minutes early so that everyone can jump in and hopefully get started on time. If you're on, please let me know where you're from. It's very early in the morning, so I'm still trying to wake up. Let me know if you can hear me okay. And I will answer questions after the demo. I will read through as much as I can. Good morning, Sandra. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. It's been a while since I've done a live, so I'm a little bit out of practice. Okay. It's been kind of chilly this morning, so I'm kind of have layers on me. So if I look a little bit layered up, it's because it's early. It's 6:45 over here. It's been cloudy and rainy in California. The weather is unpredictable. It's like 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees, and all of a sudden it's 80 or 90, and it's just, you never know what to expect lately. So today is a little bit chilly out here, and I don't have a heater in my cake room. I try and keep it cool since I have a lot of sugar stuff in here. So I'm a little bit layered up. I've got my computer next to me so I can see comments from there. If anyone has any questions before I get started. Okay, it is 6:46, so I'm going to start off with telling you a little bit about myself and my heat pen. Zeoto pen is a heat decorating pen that can be used on a variety of mediums, all the way from poured chocolate to isomalt. The variable heat is from 50 degrees Celsius to 250 degrees Celsius. So you have a lot of mediums that you can work on with heat variation. The heat pen comes in a travel-sized case so you can carry it with you. And inside your case, you have your heat pen, and you have your tips that are included, and a little stand to hold it on. And there's also little instructions. For those of you that have not heard of Zeoto, you could check out my website, my Facebook page, and today I am having a 10% discount on all purchases that will be good for an entire month. If you use the code Fiesta25, it will give you the 10% discount. And my website, I will put in comments as well as let you know what it is. It's zeotopen.net. Other than the heat pen, I have additional tips that are copper, and they have different sizes and different shapes. So it gives you a lot more flexibility to do different things. And I'm going to show you behind me. This is a poured chocolate plaque that I did using Zeoto, and I just basically used a stencil and carved on poured chocolate. Of course, there's other tools that you need to use when you're working with chocolate, because the heat will continue to melt the chocolate. So I used the sugar shaper tools to remove the excess chocolate and define my areas and smoothen them out a little bit more. And today we're going to be working on cookies with a Zeoto pen. I'm going to show you how to do a method where you can have like a wood burning effect on a cookie. I have one here that I have done. So this was done with stencils and Zeoto pen, and then I just used a little bit of royal icing to add a touch to it. So if you have someone that doesn't like all that sugar, you can always decorate a cookie using the stenciling effect with the pen and give it that wood burning, and then just add a couple little touches with royal icing, or you can add a little fondant touches here and there. And today we're going to be working with a variety of different mediums. I'm going to be using semi-color for the painting. I'm going to be using wafer paper, and I'm going to be using this wafer paper spray. And let's see and we're going to be using some flavoring and some punchers for the flowers, and some royal icing and other mediums. So I want to give people a little bit more time. Since we're doing the wood burning technique effect, it does take a little bit of time, because if you want the effect to look like it has a wood burning effect like this, you have to hold your heat pen on there and work slowly so that it could start making that little burnt color. If you just want to do it to stencil out something to have a lining, then you can work faster. It's not a problem. And the heat, I'm right now at 110 degrees Celsius. So if I need more heat, I would just increase it. I always suggest to start out with a low heat and increase it gradually as needed, because you don't want to overheat the medium that you're working with and cause it to burn or stick to your pen. Another important factor is to always keep your tips clean. The residue builds up as you're working with your heat pen, and it can start to burn due to the heat. Okay, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes before I flip my camera around. And also, I forgot to mention that the heat pen comes in 220-volt Euro version with a 2-prong plug. So for those abroad that would like to purchase it, I do have also a discounted shipping rate for you, because I know it's exorbitant. So if you are from abroad and would like to purchase it, I do have it available as well. Okay, we're going to give it a few more minutes here. I'm reading some of the comments. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Melinda. Yes, we're all on together. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, everyone, if there's gentlemen out there too. Thank you so much for getting up early in the morning to join me. I hope you enjoy this demo. It's been a while since I've done one with Zeoto, so it's kind of fun to come back and do another one. And for those of you that already have the pen and want to purchase the additional tips, they are also included in the 10% discount. Okay, let's see, it's 6:52. We'll give it a few more minutes. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and flip my camera around. Bear with me because I'm not really savvy with using the phone. I'm always the computer type person. So I'm gonna flip it around as best as I can and position it right. And I'm hoping I got this right. So I'm gonna wait till it comes on the computer to make sure I have it right. And you'll have to pardon the lighting. It's like I said, cloudy outside, and I have a little ring light on besides the lights in my room, so I'm hoping that everything will be nice and clear for you. So today I'm going to be showing you how to create this effect on maracas. And the way that I made these cookies, I do not have a cookie cutter, but I do use different types of cookie cutters to create different shapes. And for these maracas, I had these cookie cutters and I had a baseball bat cookie cutter. So what I did is I cut out the bottom portion with the baseball bat and the top portion with the oval. And then I just took the cookie cutter, this portion, and cut it into the top portion and put them together and added a little bit of egg white to bind them. So when I put them in the oven, they would cook together, and that's how I got my maraca cookie shape. Now, it is very long, so what I did is I took the end of the cookie cutter and I just kind of cut it up to the size that I wanted. All right, so that's how I did my maraca cookies. I'm gonna put those aside. And then we're also gonna do this flower pot. Now, for this flower pot, I don't have a cookie cutter either. So what I did is I found something that would give me kind of the simulation of a flower pot, and I used the cookie cutter for an owl, which can give you that flower pot shape. And then I had these cookie cutters of ice creams, and you could do different sizes. And this one was a shell. So what I did is I kind of put them together to see what size I wanted to use. And you can also use this one if you wanted to do elongated one. You could use the ice cream cone one. So that's how I did my flower pot cookie cutter. And I'm going to show you how they come out once they're out of the oven. So this is how they look. And now they're ready to decorate. So what I'm going to start with is, I'm going to start with the flower pot. And I did one here where I showed you earlier that I had already pre-done so that you could kind of see what it looks like when it's wood burning. Now, I always like to test my heat pen before working on my medium to make sure I have the proper amount of heat. And because I have this extra cookie, I'm just going to come over here and try it. And I do have the proper amount of heat. You can see the heat pen, as I lay it on there, it is just kind of, let's just say, melting the area where it's going into the cookie, and I'm just pulling my heat pen towards me. It's always best to work with the heat pen flowing towards you versus upward, because then you're working against the medium and it will make it a little bit more difficult to work with. So I always suggest to use the heat pen and glide it towards you. Now, when you have the proper amount of heat, you shouldn't have to use a lot of force. It should just automatically, if I were to lay my tip on here, you would see I'm not applying any pressure. I'm just letting the heat do its work and then working with the heat pen. And I'm going to add a little bit more heat because we are time constricted. And I want to make sure that I get to do the entire demo. All right, so we're gonna start with the flower pot. And basically you could do whatever you want. I mean, this is your design. So I'm just gonna outline the top portion. And you can also do like a cookie with a brick wall. You already have your stenciling in there. And the fun part about it is that when you do your royal icing, you just do those areas and you already have all of your grooves to give you the effect of a 2D design. Now, because I'm going to royal ice this, I really don't care much about that wood burning effect on there. So I'm going to be working a little bit faster. Just want to make sure I have all my grooves. Okay. And then you just come and you just start creating your own design of mosaic. That's what I liked. And then I gave it like a terracotta color. And usually I have my cookie wheel. I don't know where I put it. So we're just going to be working on the surface. I want to make sure I keep it flat. I don't want it to break. And basically what I'm doing is just creating any kind of line design. So it has like different shapes, different sizes. I'm hoping you can see all of this okay. And right now I have my heat pen set at 150 degrees Celsius. You could, I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way so that you could see the difference. When you're working with isomalt, I usually work between 110 to 250 sometimes, depending on how fast I'm working. And it doesn't take long for the heat pen to reach its desired temperature. Now, another thing I do need to mention is when you're going to swap out your tips, you must allow your heat pen to cool down. Turn it off and let it cool down. It doesn't take long because the tips and the core are right here, and all of this is extremely hot. So make sure to always use this portion to hold on to your heat pen. Let's do the bottom. Okay. So now you can see all the pieces that look like terracotta. So then when you go in here and you royal ice it, excuse me, you will have this kind of look where it's like grooves in between. So it gives you like a masonry pot. And the colors that I used to get my terracotta were a blend of candy apple red and semi-yellow and some orange. And she has a guide on how to work with her semi-color splash paints to give you different colors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pipe some of the areas here. So that's going to take a little bit time to dry. So basically what I do is I just come and outline each of the little pieces. Another thing you could do if you wanted to come and paint these little grooves in a different color, just to give it a contrast in the background, you could do that before royal icing. There's just a lot of different ways that you can work with this. And I'm just piping super fast here. I love that you can also use stencils if you wanted to create a stenciling design on here for ease. It will, the heat pen will not damage your stencils at all. I use it a lot on fondant when I'm stenciling for a cake on the fondant. I use it with isomalt when I want to do stencils on isomalt. I've even used for chocolate, I've printed out my own stencils and used that with the heat pen and gone over the chocolate with it, because the heat is for chocolate is very minimal. It starts at 50 degrees Celsius and you gradually increase it to maybe 60 or 70, depending again with what type of chocolate you're working with and what you're trying to do. And with the tips, there's a lot of different tips. I always suggest try them out, play with them, see what works best for you. Because there's a lot of the tips can do the same thing. It's just whether or not you like the size a little bit better or you like how it works with you a little bit better. I'm going out of my lines here a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside to dry, but I'm also going to be adding a little bit of royal icing up here to give it green in the background. And what I'm going to be using is, I'm going to put this cookie to the side. I'm going to show you how I mix a little bit. You just need a little bit of I'm using the Envy Green. And they're very concentrated, but they're beautiful and they work with everything. I love that it works with royal icing, buttercream, isomalt. And as you can see, I've just used a little drop and it's a really pretty color. You don't have to use an exorbitant amount. And what I'm going to do, because I know that this needs to dry a little bit, is I'm just going to add a little bit here in the background. I know it's looking messy, but it's going to be hidden with flowers. And I just want it to be kind of green in the background so it's not so pale when I add the flowers on. And you'll have some added dimensions. Now I didn't add royal icing to the top portion because it's not going to be dry enough for when we add on the flowers, and I didn't want it to be messy or ruined, so I'm leaving that without the royal icing for demonstration purposes only because of time. So I'm just doing this. Let's make it look like some stems. Okay, and we're going to allow that to dry. You want to come in and add a little bit more thin lines. You can use this, you can use your Dresden tool. All right, now we're going to set this cookie to the side and let it dry a little bit. We're going to move on to the wafer paper flowers. Now, when I use my wafer paper, I like to spray it with paper lotion, and I got this at Icing Images. And I just spray a little bit so that it becomes very flexible and it doesn't crack. And my heat pen right now is cooling down. I'm going to change my tip to a ballpoint tip. This comes in the new tip collection. And that's what I'm going to use to curl my paper wafer flowers with. So I'm going to let it cool down a little bit, and I'm going to change out the tip. And while we're doing that, I'm going to show you how I do the flowers. So I'm just cut out little pieces. Oh, I've got royal icing on my scissors. I don't know how that happened. Sorry. All right, and then I have different sizes of punchers. I have a large flower here. So I'm going to go ahead and punch out a couple of those. Take this one out. Okay. Here, got paper stuck in there. I like to turn it upside down because sometimes I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Alright, so we're going to do another one of those. Alright, so I've got 3 large flowers. And I have different sizes here. This is a smaller flower. I've got a few of those. Get some of these. Okay, these are all here. Let me check my heat pen, see if I can, yes, it's cool enough now. I'm going to change the heat. The tip. Now this is the heat pen inside. That's what the core looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the new tip. And then you just kind of screw it down. Okay, and I'm going to turn this on. And for wafer paper, I'm going to start at 110 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to show you how to curl these with the heat pen. You want to use a little spongy so when you apply pressure, it will go down and curl for you and start curling instead of a hard surface, because you're not going to get that flexibility. So I'm going to put a couple on here. And I'm going to cut out a couple more little flowers. Put those there. Okay, so I think we have enough flowers. All right, let me test the heat pen and see if it's warm enough. So what I do is you start in the middle and you kind of just give it a little circular motion and you push down in the middle. And then if you want it to curl more, you can come over at the petals and come from the outward portion and roll it in as if you were using a ballpoint tip. And curl it as much as you want. If you want it to be more open, then apply a little bit less pressure, and then you can see how I've curled my flower. Okay, and that basically works with all of them. The smaller ones, I just kind of push in the center and just give it a little circular motion. and it curls them very pretty. Okay. Now I'm using the shiny side of the wafer paper. That's the side up I'm using. Now I'm going to do some of the larger flowers so you can see how those work. So for the larger flowers, oops, those are still a little sticky from the spray. Usually if you're going to use it with the spray, let me get one that's less sticky. You have to give it time to dry, which these are still not super dry, so I'm going to work with the little ones. Okay, let me try these again. The large one, no, it's still a little sticky. So what I'm gonna do is I sprayed one last night and it's very dry and flexible. See, it's very dry and flexible, and I sprayed this one last night. So I'm gonna do the large flowers with this because those are still a little bit damp from the spray and they're not working with me too well. Okay, so I went ahead and used that one. Let me get my pen here. Okay, so then I'm doing a circular motion in the middle and I'm coming up slightly on the petals with a circular motion. And you can see how that's curled my flower. Okay. And if you wanted to do it a little bit more, you just kind of just keep playing with your tip in a circular motion and it curls your flower for you. Now if you didn't want it that curled, you could do it a little bit less. Let me see, these guys will work with me now. Probably not. Oh yeah, they're working now. Okay, so you just do it a little bit less and just barely touch the end of the petals with the middle, and then this one is a little bit less. If you wanted them to be more opened or more closed, it all depends on how you would like to have those done. All right, so now we've done our flowers and I'm going to show you how I color them. I'm going to clear up a little bit of this mess here. I use dusting powder. I'm going to use this yellow and this old Wilton pink I've had laying around. And this one is a daffodil petal dust. And then what I do is I take a little bit of vegetable shortening. You could use Crisco or you can use whatever you have on hand. And I get a little bit and just kind of put it to the side here. Hold on 1 second. Just kind of dab it there on the side. You don't need much. And then for this portion, I do have to use a glove. Let me get my glove. And then I'm going to dump just a little bit of the petal dust on this paper. And a little bit of the yellow. And then I put on a glove, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to dab a little bit of the vegetable shortening and dip it into the yellow and kind of just like rub my fingers with it and kind of blend it in. And then I just get the flower and I just like rub it and work the color in there. And what I like is that you're also doing the back at the same time. And then just set it down to dry. We're gonna do some more. And it goes a long way. Okay, see how that looks? It's really pretty and it's very even. And we'll do another little one here. Okay, so if you want to use the pink, you can. I just go ahead and dab in the pink and work it in. I don't care if there's a little yellow in there because it gives it like a very nice tone with pink and yellow. I don't know if you could see that. See the back? Okay, now I want to make one a little bit more pinky, so I'm going to go ahead and really get pink on there and just kind of blend it in all together. And then just kind of work the color into the flower. If you want more pink, just dab it in more. And kind of just work it in there. And see? And it's very nice and soft. It's not super strong, but they look very delicate. And that's how I add the color. So I'm going to put these to the side and let them kind of sit for a little bit. And then we're going to add some pearls in the center. Now I have some pre-made because all this takes a little bit of drying time. So I just wanted to show you how to get the colors onto the flowers. And then we're going to do the little pearls on these. Let me get my royal icing. I just stick little pearls in these little cups here. And let me find my royal icing here. I'm losing things this morning. Okay. So if I'm going to use yellow pearls, I kind of just use a little bit of yellow royal icing. And I'm going to dab a little bit in the middle. Okay, and we're going to use yellow on this one because I'm going to use the orange pearls. And I just basically, no I don't do, get a little extra cup here to pour them in because these things like to fly everywhere. And there's the little flower with the pearls in the middle. And we'll set that off to the side to dry. Here's your other one. And then we're going to do orange on the yellow one. Okay, and there's that one. So that's how I apply my beads into the flowers. And now we're going to put these aside while they dry. And we are going to change out my tip on my heat pen, and I'm wanting to do the maraca to show you how to do that. I know time is going past me here. Okay. So I'm going to clean this mess out. All right, and then we're going to stencil on the maraca. I'll probably have time to do one. Now, once they are done, you can always come back with a different tip and your heat pen and create little designs in there, because it will just take out the color and you'll see the cookie color underneath. So let's see if the heat pen is ready. Nope, my tip needs to heat up a little bit more. I'm going to put this one all the way to 250 degrees Celsius so I could work a little harder. But meanwhile, it's heating up. I'm going to show you how the flowers for the flower pot are done. I pre-made these so that we could apply them. And I did just a whole bunch of different ones. Here they go. And I made these doubled layer. I don't know if you could see that it has like a little pink in there. It's a smaller one. And I have some of these little teeny ones here. And while that's heating up, let's see if we can apply some of these flowers on to the flower pot. So just basically start adding them wherever you think they might go. And they're sticking to the royal icing that was there. Let's put this one over here. We can add some little colored ones in different areas. I'm just basically pushing down. Okay, the icing is kind of dry, so I'm just gonna dab a little bit here. Okay, and you can kind of see the general idea of this. And again, you can add the royal icing down here and add little leaves piped out over there in the little open areas. Or even add, you can even add fondant flowers if you choose to. And as I said, this is what it would look like. Well, I lost a flower here, but yes, it's very different, very pretty. Like, you can use fondant flowers, you could use the wafer paper. Just kind of be kind of creative with it. Okay, so let's see if the heat pen is ready to do a maraca. Yes, it is. So I bumped up my heat to 250 so I could work a little bit faster, because I know that time is approaching. And then for these grooves, I kind of just did. You know, if you were doing the back cookie, you could always add the wood effect to it. So you have it in there. All right, so this is the design for the maraca, and the way that I colored these, let me get the little cup, is I basically used the semi-color splash. Let's do the yellow. I do one little drop in a cup, and then I add a little bit of vodka just because I want to thin it down a little. It's very concentrated, so it'll last a long time. It'll go a long way. And if you wanted to flavor it, you can add a couple of drops with a dropper of the clear vanilla into here. So I'm gonna do that just to give it a little vanilla flavor, or any other flavoring you want, as long as it's clear, because you don't want to mess the color up from the paint. And then just basically use a paintbrush and just come over here and start, let me bring it, come over here and just start painting the cookie. And it absorbs it, and you can see how pretty these colors are and how well they work on the cookie itself. Okay. And then I did orange, and because I have yellow in there, I'm gonna just go ahead and put the orange in with the yellow. It'll give me a little fiery color there. Okay, let's bring some down here. Okay, and then I want to put some green in there. Let me get another little cup. Add a little bit of vodka. Now you're going to see this one isn't as diluted, so it's going to be a little bit darker. When I use it, it will be very concentrated. You can even see that when I'm using it. It's just for fun. Add some green down here. All right, and then I'm going to add red already to what I have with the orange and the yellow, because they're all in the same family. And we're going to add some red. Mix it up a little bit. Okay. So this is the maraca. Okay, and this one's the one that I had done prior to, and you can see I went back with the heat pen, and I used a tip and just kind of, it was, let's see, it's a horseshoe shaped tip that comes in the new collection. That's this one. And I just used it to make in those little designs there, the little indentures. So you can see how beautiful those colors come out. Like I said, if you dilute them less, they'll be more concentrated. This was a little bit less diluted, and they'll be darker, but if you wanted them to be a little bit lighter in tone, just add a little bit more vodka. It goes a long way. You don't need very much. All right, so that was the maraca. Now we have a little bit of time, so I'm going to just show you, if you were to work a little bit slower with the heat pen, how you could get the wood burning. Oh, I turned it off. Silly me. Okay, let's let it dry. So if you were to work a little bit slow with a heat pen, you would literally brown the cookie a little bit, and it would give you that wood burning effect on a cookie. Okay, and I wanted to show you how to do that, so I've got maybe about 5 more minutes. I don't know if I'll have time, or maybe one line. Let me see. No, it's not gonna be ready for me in time. I'm sorry, guys. But anyways, if you were to use a lot of heat, again, test your heat pen. Make sure that you have the right heat for what you want to do. If you work slower with a lot of heat, you're going to get this burning technique. If you see that it's browning too much, either reduce the heat or work a little bit faster. You can always come back over it a second time if you needed to, in order to get that browning in between. I did a little bit of the edges here just to kind of give it the dimensional look here on the edge, so that you could see it was a flower pot and it wouldn't look incomplete. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera around. Hopefully I can get this right. Yay, I'm here. All right, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the demo. Thank you so much for joining me this early in the morning. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. I will go back and read them. And again, take advantage of my 10% discount using Fiesta25. If you have any questions whatsoever or concerns, please feel free to message me if you want through Facebook or through the group here, and I will answer them as best as can be. Or if you have any issues with the website, with the checkout, or any problems like that, let me know. And I hope everyone has had fun watching the demo. It was a bit rushed, but yes, I hope that you were able to enjoy it and see how you could use Zeoto pen on cookies as well as a lot of other mediums. I do have a group on Facebook that's a Zeoto support group for those that want to go and join. If you have questions or want to post the stuff that you do, I'd love to see it, because I like to share it, and it also lets me know that you're having a fun time using the heat pen. All right. So I know I'm about 2 minutes ahead of time. Woo-hoo. So let me see. Yeah, it's kind of cold today. So these things are drying kind of quick, which is good. All right, guys, I really can't read the questions unless I look over to my computer. So the next show is about to start. I'm going to go ahead and sign off a little bit early so that we can be on track for today and Melinda can get on there and introduce the next guest. Thank you so much, everyone. It was a wonderful time doing this demo with you and spending 1 hour of my morning with you. I wish it could be longer, but we'll do it again soon. All right. Thank you. Bye.